Hello everyone, my name is Mike Poltra. I will be your instructor during this EMS renewal course for 2024. Welcome to the class, I'm glad you're here. Our first topic is going to be a little review of the rules and regulations as they apply to us. Again, it doesn't matter if you're a first responder or a paramedic, these rules apply to us all equally. Fortunately, there has been very little change in the rules over the past years, so this should be hopefully just mostly a good review for y'all. Disclaimer, anything I'm saying right now is true at the moment I'm saying it. If there is a change, please make sure that you're periodically going to the EMS Bureau website and looking up if there's any current information. This is particularly important as you get ready to renew. I will suggest take a quick look and make sure nothing's changed. A part of the legislation that got passed several years ago was what I refer to as the Crisis Clause. This allows the New Mexico EMS Bureau, in conjunction with the Department of Health, to make modifications to the rules and regs during a time of crisis, in particular, say, pandemic or national disasters. We saw this being used during the pandemic of COVID, where the EMS Bureau for 2 years actually suspended the CE requirements for renewal, and then the year after suspended the requirement for face-to-face class. It's conceivable, say, if another pandemic came down and it was a particular antiviral that was effective against the disease, the Bureau could make modifications to the rules and regs to allow first responders to distribute this medication, getting the medication out to the public quicker and easier. So, again, it allows the Bureau to actually respond in a good, functional way. EMS renewals, these haven't changed. These have been pretty much the rules we've been living with, I'd say, for about almost 10 years now. And that sucked. EMS renewal. Nothing's really changed much. This would be the same rules that have been in effect for a little bit more than 10 years now. So this should be a good review. Now, one thing that has been kind of changed, as I mentioned, during COVID, the Bureau actually suspended requirement for CEs, and then they allowed the year after for you to do your CEs all online. They've now gone back to that only 50% of your CEs can be online. All of them can be live, but you are limited to 50%. This is why these courses are only 50% of the CE requirement, not all the hours. Now, not all online education is the same. Online education can be delivered in an asynchronous or synchronous way. Asynchronous is like this course here. You sit back, you watch the class, you take a test. There's no direct interaction with the instructor. Sure, you can send me an email, you can call me, but that's not the design of the class. We're not having a good two-way conversation. Synchronous education is where we have a two-way communication. Whether it be I can talk, I can send a chat, but the instructor is live, I'm live at the same time. This would be a class the same being offered over Teams or Zoom. But you can think of synchronous education as the same as classroom education. There is no limit on the amount of education that can be synchronous. But you are, if a class is asynchronous, you are limited to 50%. Anytime you have a doubt of what type of education it is and will it count, contact the EMS Bureau. As far as CEs, remember that in New Mexico, your CEs must be done by December 31st before your expiration date. Example, most of us taking this class will be expiring on March 31st, 2025. That means we need to be done with our CEs December 31st, 2024. That is different than National Registry. National Registry allows you to take your CEs up until March 31st, but in New Mexico, they must be done in December or take CEs after December 31st, they cannot be used in that renewal cycle. They would be applied to your next renewal cycle. So keep a watch of the calendar and don't wait till the last minute. One thing that kind of exempt that is CPR. CPR doesn't matter when you take it, as long as it's current at the time of renewal. So you take your CPR class December or March 1st, that's fine. It doesn't have to be taken before December 31st. And remember, your CPR card cannot be used as part of your CE requirements. It is a card that's separate, so you can't use it. The breakdown, Bureau, they did away with refreshers. The breakdown is into 6 categories or a blueprint. You're required to have a certain minimum number of hours in each one of these categories. EMS preparation and operations are things like ethics, medical, legal, pharmacology review, or incident command, extrication, are courses that would be considered applicable to preparation and operations. Important if FAR classes such as fire ground strategies and operations cannot be used. A class like auto extrication, which may be taught by the Fire Academy, can be because it's directly applicable to EMS. Airway ventilation, pretty straightforward, dealing with anything to manage with the airways or the lungs or diseases with it. Cardiovascular, heart disease, and stroke are considered in cardiovascular emergencies. Medical emergencies are all those ology classes, gastroenterology, entomology. But basically think about, abdominal pain, diabetes emergencies, allergic reactions, seizures, typically are classes that are under the medical. OBGYN is also considered under the medical category. Trauma, if it's broken or bleeds, it's under trauma. And then special considerations are those patients, mostly including pediatrics, and you have targeted hours that have to be pediatrics, minimum number of hours, so make sure you meet those hours. But the other things in special considerations are bariatric patients, geriatric patients of special needs. Now, 5 hours is required. All 5 hours can be pediatrics. You're not required to only take the 2 hours in the case here of the first responder. All of them can be, but if you're taking, must have at least 2 hours that meet the pediatric specific content. And as we go up through all the levels, the only thing that changes is really the number of hours under each item in the blueprint. And important to remember, it doesn't matter if you are a first responder, you can take a paramedic level course and you can use those CEs. A paramedic looking for CEs can sit in a first responder class. There's not a level specific type course that you have to take. Intermediate, we move up to 50 hours. And then paramedic, the 60 hours, and paramedic is ACLS. And again, as we mentioned with CPR, it has to be taken anytime as long as current at time of renewal is current. And again, hours in ACLS and hours in CPR cannot be applied towards your licensing, your 60 hours. One aspect of renewal, we no longer have to go get our fingerprints if we are renewing our license. We're required to do a background check. That background check is a form that's submitted to the New Mexico Department Public Safety, and it's an arrest report. And if you have no arrest, it should be nothing on the report. And it's a notarized form that you send with a check or money order to the Department of Safety, and they will then send your report to the EMS Bureau. If you are initial licensure, or you're reciprocity, you're coming in from another state, or you're reentry, you've let your license lapse and you're trying to get it back, you still need to go through the fingerprint process. Now we go to the website again and we go to licensing. And we click on licensing and go towards the bottom of that page, and you'll find background screening. And you have the different forms there. It talks about screening for renewal, and then it talks about screening for initial reciprocity and reentry applicants. There's other information there for you to look at if you, as far as your rights to this privacy. And when you click on the form, that link there sends you to this form here, which explains it a little bit more. And again, not everybody has to do the renewal. That does the renewal have to get their background. It's based on the first letter of your last name. And you can look down there, you can see, this year in 2025, A through M, which is yay for me, because I get to go do my form as well. When you click on the form comes here, and fill it out. Make sure that you list the EMS Bureau as the agency that you want the report to be sent to. Take it down to your bank or someone to get notarized. Send this in to the address above, but make sure that you send it in with a check or money order. Yes, we haven't moved toward, this is 2025, but we still can't get online payment system with the state. So make sure you get this form filled out. Now, as far as doing your renewal, most classes that are done in New Mexico under CE, the CE coordinator will upload these course records into the EMS portal. So when you go to the EMS portal, you log in, and you all should have been here already. And when you go up there under Education and you go under My Report, you will find, it'll give you a report, and it'll show you how many hours you completed, how many hours are remaining in a given category. Yes, I have a lot of CEs. I teach a lot. So, and then if you click it one more, it actually will give you the list of courses that are been put in there for your CEs. So you can sit back and not only see how many hours you have, you can see what classes there were, and find out where you're missing, what do you need to add. Now, I always recommend you try to get a copy of whatever certificate for every class you do, because sometimes there's a glitch. When I'm uploading these into the portal, if I have one number off on your license, it may not get into your portal, your site. So having a copy that you can upload, and you can add the course to it. You can put in the number of hours that have been allocated to that class and keep your report. Also remember that there is a percentage each year of folks that have their records audited. That means the Bureau is going to ask for copies of all the CE classes you've had. So again, it's easier to keep them up front, keep them ahead, than trying to hunt down them. Also, you can go to that same website and you'll have a list of those people who are going to be audited. So you can actually know if you're on that list and start making sure you have all your records in line. For those of us that have been working for years, we've always been told you have to keep your license on you at all times while you're working. Well, since now all your licenses can be verified online, the requirement to having a wallet card is no longer there. So you don't have to keep your license in your card because it can be verified on the website. Most of us at one time or another dealt with folks having EMS DNR. EMS DNR is a form that basically says an individual does not want to be resuscitated. Important to remember, we're saying do not resuscitate, we're not saying do not treat. You can provide comfort care, you can provide oxygen, you can provide suction, you can give them pain medication for pain. Our goal is to keep people comfortable. What it does say we can't do, we can't defibrillate them, we can't start CPR, we can't intubate them. That's the request they have, and we should honor it. a form that's in addition to a EMS-DNR, or maybe the only form, is what we used to call as a post or a most. And these are whether called physician orders of scope of treatment or medical orders of scope of treatment. The difference is that post says physician. Most, which New Mexico went to, allows for advanced practitioners such as nurse practitioners and PAs to be able to put these orders. And these are most likely orders that would be within a hospital. But the big difference between what a DNR says and a most says is a DNR is a yes/no. You resuscitate, you don't resuscitate. A most may be more specific. It may be as regiment as saying no food or water, which is a common thing that during a person's dying phase actually eases their suffering during death. Dehydration dulls the senses. Sound. So they may be able to write that the person's no longer not going to get feedings. They may say the patient will be intubation is okay, but compression, no compressions. So it could be very specific to what the patient wants, and their provider has just worked with them to come up with a plan, and it kind of puts it in lines with their goals of treatment. So again, if you go into a facility or go to home and they have a most, you are allowed to recognize that as you would if they had that EMS-DNR form. Okay. A little bit about National Registry. National Registry uses this concept, what they call the National Continued Competency Program, in which the idea is that you're always taking CEs to build yourself into a better provider instead of waiting until like December to catch all your hours. One big difference with National Registry is National Registry, after COVID, didn't go back to requiring face-to-face requirement. They allow that you can have no limits on the amount of distributive education. And National Registry refers to distributive education as synchronous or asynchronous. They don't make a delineation like the state of New Mexico does. So under National Registry rules, you can do all your CEs online. This class could be a 60-hour class for a paramedic, and all those hours could be applied to National Registry. So National Registry, and what they've gone to, they break it down to different categories of airway, cardiology, trauma, medical, and operations. If you notice, they don't have special consideration. They consider you when you're taking a class that or a topic that is integrated with pediatric patients as well as adult patients. And you can download the standardized course form that actually kind of breaks down individual classes from everything from CPR to tactical combat casualty care courses, and tell you how many hours it breaks down into those areas and what areas does it meet. Okay. When you go to National Registry, you log in, and that same form we kind of talk about with the EMS portal, that you can go to see what number of hours you have. You can look there. If you're doing a CAPC course, which is a national accreditation body that accredits continuing education, those sites will upload those courses into National Registry, and if you give them your state license number, we'll also upload them into the state system as well. And so you can go to the National Registry and see your number of hours assigned. You're going, Mike, you have no hours assigned. And you're right. I've always taken the option of doing the research by exam, where I take the National Registry exam every 2 years. And I kind of can wait for me to keep on my toes and know how the current testing process is. So that's a quick review of the National Registry and State of New Mexico renewal requirements and some particular licensure issues as far as that are of concern to us. Thank you very much. Have a good day.